Today I am sharing the thought reflection rule with you and how you can use this rule to completely control your own reality. My name is Kath Kyle and I lead the Hustle Less, Manifest More movement, and I help conscious creators and change makers to manifest success through my dream business coaching, courses, and my club. You can find details of all of that in the description below. So let's get started. What is the thought reflection rule? Now, I am going to explain a couple of terms with you before I explain what the thought reflection rule is. And they are: everything is your mirror and everyone is you pushed out. So what does it mean that everything is your mirror? Now, I thought I had intellectually learned this concept a very long time ago. For many years, I had agreed with this principle that everything that you see in the world is a reflection of what you think about it. That popular phrase, change the way that you view the world and the world you view changes. So I totally agreed with that. You might have heard something similar to that before, but there are so many deeper levels of really understanding this truth. And it's not until you know that this is true, then it will really blow your mind. When I totally understood this with every fiber of my being, it totally made my head spin. I actually felt physically dizzy and I had to steady myself because everything that I thought I knew about reality was completely wrong. And this has the power to change everything for you if you can completely know this. It's one thing to understand it intellectually, it is another thing to know it, and I'm going to help you to know it and put this to the test yourself. So what I used to think everything is your mirror meant was that if you think of the world through a positive lens, through a positive attitude, then you would notice the positive things in the world. For example, if you had a belief that everybody is kind to me or people are generally good and they have good intentions, then you will start to notice all of the good in the world and other people intending good things towards you. And similarly, bad things. If you had a negative perception of the world, that people always treat you badly, then that is what you would experience. But when I thought of this rule that everyone is your mirror, I thought of everybody else having the control over their realities and their own lives, and we all coexisted in the same world. So I didn't think I had any influence on anybody else or anything in my reality. I only thought of it in terms of I could choose to focus in on the positives and just ignore the negatives, and there would still be negative people out there and negative things going on, but I would generally notice and focus on the positives, and that's what I thought it was. I did also believe in the power of prayer, and for a long time I have believed in praying for the people, helping people to change what happens in their world, but I probably hadn't really grasped how powerful the concept of prayer actually was, because especially when you come from a religious background and you're taught to pray for the people, pray for good things for the people, you're not taught how powerful that prayer actually is and what it truly means, that you can literally pray for and create everything, not just a few positive things for a few people, a few healings, a new job for other people. It can be applied to absolutely everything. And people are not given examples of this because people don't tend to do this and they don't tend to talk about it, because the implications of grasping what this actually means can be really scary for a lot of people. But I am going to go over some of the thoughts that you might be thinking that might be putting you off taking this to its logical conclusion and applying it to everything in your reality. So another popular phrase at the moment is everyone is you pushed out, and this is a term that was a concept that was coined by Neville Goddard, and it has taken a dramatic increase in popularity. If you type this into YouTube, you'll see so many videos on this topic, and that is because he is teaching something similar to what I'm teaching with the thought reflection rule, in that you have control over your entire reality with the phrase, everyone is you pushed out. Now, what I don't like about the phrase, everyone is you pushed out, is it implies that everything that you are is what other people are as well. And there are actually two different ways to look at this. One is that as a human, everything that you are as a human is pushed out in everybody else and everything that you see. And another way to look at it is that we are all one spiritual being. We are all connected. Some people like to use the word God. We are all part of God. We are all God. God has created different forms in human beings, and so we are a separate human, but we are also all God as well. So if you look at it in terms of we are all one, then yes, everything in the world is part of God and was created by the God part of you. But if you are talking about humans, then no, not everything in the world is directly you pushed out. And what I mean by this is a lot of people think that, and a lot of people say that what the everything is your mirror means is that everything in other people is something that you have inside of you. So every good thing in other people is something that's in your own thoughts, and every bad thing about other people is also part of who you are as a human. And there is some truth in this, but I don't completely agree with this, because as a human, I don't agree that everything that happens in the world that we see is a creation of us as a human. It might be a creation of God, but it's not a creation of us as a human. So I will get to this a bit more later on when I'm talking about the mistakes that people are making. So let's get to what actually is the thought reflection rule. So the reason why I have come up with my own term and the thought reflection rule is because I don't like everything is your mirror and everyone is you pushed out, because it doesn't really explain what it actually means. And I like the name of the concept to mean exactly what it's supposed to mean. So the thought reflection rule means that everything that you see is a reflection of your thoughts. It's not necessarily a reflection of who you are as a person, but the world around you that you see is a reflection of your thoughts. So what this actually means is that your thoughts create your reality. So your thoughts, every thought that you think, actually creates the reality that you see in the world. Now, was this always the case? No. When you were a child, your thoughts were not creating your world. When you were a baby and a very young child, you were being imprinted by everybody else's belief system. But now that you are aware of this, your thoughts are creating your reality. And does this mean that every single thought that you have will get created in the world? Not necessarily, because you can override your thoughts with other thoughts, with other beliefs. Beliefs are just dominant thoughts that you might have thought over and over again, so they have become an ingrained thought. So you can override thoughts with other thoughts that you already think. Say, for example, you think you have a really bad thought, as a lot of us tend to do, and you think, where did that random thought come from? You had a really bad thought that something terrible was going to happen. Does that mean that that terrible thing is going to happen in your reality? Not necessarily, because if you then have another thought directly after that, such as, well, that was a silly thought, I don't intend for that to be created, what I intend to be created is the opposite of that thought, then you will not create that bad thought that you didn't want to think. And sometimes this can happen without you even being aware of it, because you have a general belief system that things just go on as they normally do, and that bad things don't tend to happen in everyday life. So therefore that bad thing isn't going to manifest, because you had an idea that today was going to go in a certain way. But if you have an overriding belief or overriding thoughts that sometimes bad things happen, then that means that occasionally in your life bad things will happen that you maybe didn't even think about, you didn't even create necessarily, but because you've got this overriding thought that occasionally bad things happen, then bad things will happen occasionally. So you have to be very careful of your thoughts and your beliefs, because they do create in the world. But let's not just focus on the negative things. Let's choose to focus on the positives and see how exciting the thought reflection rule is. Because if you truly believe that your thoughts do create, then you have the power to create your own reality exactly as you want it. So here's an analogy to help you think about how the thought reflection rule works. So we have our physical reality in front of us, and our physical reality is created entirely from thoughts. It might be created from other people's thoughts, but we do have the power to control our own reality. If we don't choose to control our own reality, somebody else can control it with their thoughts. But all of reality is created from thoughts. But that means that we have to think of something before it can get created in the world. That we can't actually physically force something to change. We can only change something with our thoughts first. So here's an analogy to help you understand it a bit better. If you are looking into a mirror, and this is why it's a reflection, because it's like looking in a mirror, and you see your reflection in the mirror, and you want your reflection, this picture of you in the mirror, you want it to smile, and you push your hands up onto the mirror and you physically try and force your smile upwards. You're trying to pull your smile up in the mirror, and it's just not budging. You can't physically force your reflection to do anything physically by physical force. The only thing you can do is change your thoughts. You can decide, I'm going to smile. I'm going to see a smile in the mirror. And then as soon as you have that thought, your mouth breaks into a smile and you see the reflection smiling back at you. The physical world has changed, but it had to happen from a thought first. So that's how this works. That's how the thought reflection rule works. So now let's think about the science behind the thought reflection rule and why this is actually being proven to be true. So I have another video that explains this in more detail. So it's about the parallel realities and stepping into a parallel reality. And that video goes into a lot more detail on all of these scientific terms behind these principles. So I will leave the link to that in the description below. But I'll just explain a couple of scientific terms that will help you understand this and why it's been proven. So science has shown that there is something called the observer effect, that when they have tested particles and they've looked at them, they've observed them, they have noticed that when they've tested them without somebody observing them, the particles are completely different. So the particles change depending on the person who is looking at them. And that means that you have the power to change your physical reality. Another scientific term is entanglement, which means that when you decide that two particles, that two things in your physical reality are going to be linked together, you can observe them and decide that when one changes, another automatically changes, and these particles are linked together. And even if they are at other ends of the earth, they are still linked together and one can still control the other. So say, for example, those two particles are you and somebody else, you can literally decide what you want to see reflected in that other person, and that other person will change because of those particles in that other person and because of the observer effect, that you change your own reality. So that brings us on to the next point. Do other people have free will? Now, this is what trips a lot of people up. People are getting very excited about this concept. People are talking about manifesting their specific person, getting the person that they want to get into a romantic relationship with them, and basically controlling that and creating that and deciding that that is going to happen in their reality, even if that person has told them, no, I'm not interested, I don't want a relationship with you. Then they are using this principle to basically change somebody else's actions and thoughts. And this is the thing that people are getting really hung up on. Some people are getting really excited about this principle and thinking, wow, that means I can get other people to do things for me. Where does this end? This is limitless. This is amazing. This really does mean that I am the god of my own reality. And other people are getting really freaked out by this concept and saying, I don't like this at all. This isn't ethical. I don't want to manipulate people at all. So what is the truth? Do other people actually have free will? How does this actually work in reality? So how it works is, and this is what I explain in my other video about parallel realities, is that every person is in their own reality. And these realities, they do coincide, they do link up together, but you are in control of your reality that you see. And everybody in your reality also has their own reality, which is separate to the reality that you see. So they are also in control of their own reality. So they have free will over their own thoughts and creations in their own reality. You have free will over your own thoughts and creations in your reality, but not over physical changes, just over what you intend and your thoughts. So because you have control over everything and everyone in your reality, that means that other people are just an illusion who are in your own reality, but they are also in their own illusion. They're in their own reality that they get to control. So yes, in your reality, you can decide that other people get to change their behavior towards you, and they will do. But that doesn't mean that you've changed their free will, because in their own reality, their life looks completely different. They've got their own set of thoughts, and they are controlling what they see about you. Their intentions dictate your own actions, but you will never know about that. You'll never get to experience that reality, because you can only be conscious in one place at a time, and this is the reality that you're conscious in. So there might be a version of you doing something totally different depending on what people have decided that you do in their reality, but in your reality, you get to decide what they do and how they behave in your reality. So yes, everyone has free will, but you also get to create the people in your world exactly as you want them, which is super exciting, and it makes you feel really powerful. But does that mean that other people are real and they really exist? Yes, in the simulation that we call life, these people are real, that we get to experience them through our senses, and they do have their own consciousness, they have their own personality. We haven't created everything about that person. We haven't created their personality. We have them in our experience, and if we leave them to their own devices, then whatever our dominating beliefs are about that person will tend to play out, and they will have also their own personality as well. But if we decide that that person has a different personality, then they will change personalities. They'll still have fragments of their own personality, but it will be based on what you see. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. And as humans, we can't really comprehend this. This is something that God has created, and we cannot contemplate how amazingly all this meshes together and how it actually coordinates. It's just beyond our own understanding. But we don't have to worry about manipulating people and controlling people, basically, because they do have their own reality. So, next question. Did you create all of the bad things in your life? Now, my answer to this is yes and no. So, yes, you did create all of the good things and the so-called bad things. Good and bad are just your own decision. Basically, that's just your own worldview. That it just is what it is. They're just circumstances, and you've put labels on things as good and bad. So yes, the things that you have labeled bad, you did create them in a very general sense, because your belief systems believe that bad things happen in the world. But you were given that belief system to start with, and you weren't aware that that belief system was not one that you chose yourself. So it's up to you now to decide what your new belief system is going forward. Do you still want to believe in bad things? And I like to believe in contrast, good and bad, because as humans, it's very difficult to understand what good is unless we can also label something as bad. So as humans, we probably won't ever change that belief system that there are good and bad things. So because we have either unconsciously or consciously decided that there are good and bad things, then that is what we will continue to see. But did we specifically create all of the atrocities in life, all of the so-called evil things that we have decided are evil in the world? I don't believe that we created all of the specifics of those things. No, I just believe that because we believe generally about bad things in our life, then we become aware of other people's creations, and those people might have created something specifically bad that we then see in our own reality. So the answer is yes and no. And I don't believe that we are responsible for everything that has been created, because a lot of it was created through belief systems that were given to us. So I believe that you can be responsible for what you choose to be responsible for. That is completely your choice. But if you choose to believe that you are the creator, then you might want to be responsible for everything. So let's look at some of the positives. So what are the actual benefits of the thought reflection rule? So one of the major benefits that probably goes without saying is you literally get to have everything you want. You get to have your dream life. You get to have the relationships you want. You get to do the work you want. You get to make the money you want. You get to live in the location you want with all the people around you. You get to have the health that you want. You get to have the happiness that you want. You get to decide it all. Another benefit is that you can choose to see yourself as valuable, because part of the human experience is that we want to feel fulfilled. We want to feel like we are giving something back. We are very balanced beings. We like to give and also receive. So if you're just constantly getting from all the things that you want all the time, but you're not giving anything back, you will start to feel very unbalanced. You will start to feel like, well, I feel like I really want to help people. It's not just about getting things all the time. I want the satisfaction of knowing that I've helped somebody today. So you get to decide that you are a valuable creation, that everything that you do is valuable, and that people are going to benefit from it massively. Like this video, I intend that you get massive amounts of benefit from this video, and it completely changes your life. And that is my decision in my reality, that I have chosen that to be the intention for you. Another benefit is that you get to literally decide your own rules. It's so exciting. You get to create all of your belief systems. You get to decide how you are going to feel as you go through your day. You get to decide how people treat you, how the world interacts with you, how successful you are, what you see, everything. You can decide on your own rules, which is just amazing. So now let's look at some of the mistakes that people are making when they are implementing the thought reflection rule. So we've touched on this already, but feeling like you are manipulating other people, then don't worry about that. You're not manipulating other people. People have their own reality, and they could be, and probably are, manipulating you in their reality, and you can't do anything about it. So you don't need to see it as manipulating. Manipulating is a negative way to look at it. Look on it as creating good things in other people's lives. You're not manipulating bad things. Why would you want to choose anything bad for anyone else? This is just like prayer. If you've ever believed in the power of prayer, then you could see prayer as manipulating, because have you ever prayed something for someone that they might not have even asked for? You've seen that somebody's struggling with their health. Maybe you just assumed that they wanted to recover. Maybe they didn't. Maybe you prayed for somebody that they would get a new job, but maybe that wasn't the right thing for them. You don't know. You're not really sure. That could be manipulating, or you could see it as doing a good thing for other people. If you decide that you are going to intend good things for other people, that you're going to intend that they be happy and healthy and get everything they want, then how can that ever be a bad thing, that you are intending something good for other people? Another mistake people make is putting emphasis on other people over themselves. Now, I see people going absolutely crazy on YouTube talking about manifesting their specific person with the principle of everyone is you pushed out, and they are focusing on other people all of the time. All of their thoughts are things like, he's going to text me, he's thinking about me right now, he really wants to be with me, he's sending me a message, he wants to spend his days with me, he's going to be buying me a ring, he's going to be proposing this week, he really loves me, he does this, he does that, he acts this way, he acts that way, he doesn't want to see his friends, he only wants to see me, etc., etc. And there's a danger with that, is that you are focusing all of your creation powers on another person, but you don't get to experience life through that person's eyes. You only get to experience life through your own eyes. So why would you focus all of your attention and effort on controlling only one person in your reality, when you can set your own rules and just put blanket statements out there that you get to decide that everybody has respect for you, that you always have a really good romantic relationship with your specific person, and you always get treated well, and that you have a balance of time on your own and time with other people. And when you want to be with other people, then people will want to be with you, and that people really like your company and they really enjoy listening to you and all that kind of stuff. If you put blanket rules out there for how life gets to be, you don't need to micromanage someone else and really focus all of your attention on somebody else. Because when people are saying these affirmations like, you know, he is obsessed with me, he only wants to be with me, he spends all of his time thinking about me and all that kind of thing, then if you thought about that logically, what would that mean for you? If somebody is obsessed with you and they just keep on messaging you all the time, it gets really annoying. You just want your space. You want a bit of give and take, a bit of balance, that you have to give to them, they give to you. It's a bit of a dance, and you just don't want somebody to be so much at your beck and call all the time that it just literally gets boring. And that's the other mistake that people make, is that when you micromanage everything in your life, it gets really, really boring. Because what is the point of living? The point of living is to experience the excitement of living, and it's not exciting if you always know everything that's going to happen. And that's why I like to create blanket beliefs for myself that everything goes well and everything works out, and then when things happen that I didn't expect, it gets to be exciting, because otherwise life can get really dull if you knew everything. That's the whole point of living, in my opinion. So how do we actually get started with the thought reflection rule? So where I suggest you start, first of all, is by becoming aware. Simply become aware. This concept, it can take a long time for you to really believe it. Sometimes it can take years for this to really sink in. Sometimes you can grasp it overnight. Like I said, I've been thinking about this concept for many, many, many years, and I've thought about it for a while. I've forgotten about it. Life can tend to pull you back into your reality as you've been living life, and you can literally forget about this whole thing. So it can take a while to really get this to change you as a person. So the first step is to just become aware. Just literally think about this concept. Spend some of your time when your brain's not actually engaged in anything, really thinking about this concept and what it means for the implications in your life. And then start to become aware of your existing thoughts. Really notice them. Notice if things are manifesting based on your thoughts that you are thinking. Notice if things have already manifested based on the thoughts that you keep on thinking. When you become aware of your thoughts, it's at that point that you can really start to make a change and create your own reality. So if you want to actively and consciously start to create your own reality, I recommend that you get started with some journaling, some reality creation journaling. And I created a video very recently all about how to get started with reality creation journaling. So I have left the link below this content so you can click on that and go and watch that video. There's also a blog post associated with that video that will give you a summary of everything, and this video also has a blog post associated with it if you want a recap in written form. So start doing some journaling. In your journaling, just to give you a quick recap of what you can do, start by listing everything that you want to create. Then another thing you can do is you can start to write down things that are already manifesting, things that have already manifested in your life. When you do these two things, you will start to link up your thoughts and your manifestations. And finally, you can put this to the test. A lot of people will need to put this to the test with other people in their lives, because this is the bit that gets everybody really stuck, is that can I literally change somebody else's action? So this is the thing that I really encourage you to do to put it to the test. I recommend you come up with a phrase that people probably have never said to you, but it wouldn't sound weird if somebody actually said it to you. So for example, it could be something like, "You are such a conscious creator." That could be something that literally nobody's ever said to you, but now that you are a conscious creator, it wouldn't feel weird if somebody said that to you. So imagine that somebody who you see quite often in your life says that to you. So really close your eyes and imagine them coming towards you and looking at you and saying, "Wow, you're such a conscious creator." And you don't have to use the word conscious creator. It can be any phrase that you want. And then you saying back to them, "Thank you. I really feel like I'm a conscious creator now. Why did you say that?" Something like that. Just imagine, where are you when they're coming towards you? What do they look like? Who are they? Say the words in your mind as they would speak it. And if you can imagine this in your reality, then it will start to manifest. You will see this manifested in your life. And when it does, I would love it if you would leave a comment on this video letting me know what happened as a result. So how do we actually create our own reality? We do this through creating what I call reverse memories, creating memories in our imagination before they've actually materialized in the physical world. And I have created a free guide that walks you through the process of creating reverse memories, and you can get that by going to kathkyle.com/reverse memories. And I also encourage you to come and join my club, where we do challenges every single month. We focus on a different challenge and we all work through principles such as this to create our own reality. And in that club, I also give you the reality creation journal and a guide and a course that walks you through creating your own reality to get you started on this path. So if you want to join that club, you can get started for free. And I would love it if you would leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe to me on YouTube for more content just like this that will help you to change your reality. And now it's your turn to go and put your stamp on the world.